Moran, and she'll be asking the question. Ken.
National security, 9/11, it wasn't that long ago. Terrorism is a huge threat, but it's not just terrorism. We've got Ahmadinejad, who wants to wipe not only us, but Israel off the face of the map, and China and North Korea. We have a lot of enemies out there who seek to destroy us, literally. What can and what will you do to keep us secure? What kind of a foreign policy can you influence to keep this nation secure from that kind of destruction?
Well, the first thing I won't do is bow to foreign leaders. Let's talk about Iran for a second. Iran is a rogue nation. They are fundamentally at odds with the rules that the rest of us play by. And we cannot allow Iran to develop a nuclear weapon and have the capacity to deliver that nuclear weapon to any of our allies, Israel, Saudi Arabia, others. And we need to make sure that whether it's Israel or whether it's the United States, we take out Iran's capacity to develop a nuclear weapon, and we better do it sooner rather than later, because the last thing we want to do is to find out that the experts were wrong, and it wasn't really 5 years away. It happened yesterday. We need to be in a position of a strong military action in Iran. And again, I think we can do it with cruise missiles. I think we can do it with bombing. The military experts are far better at deciding how we do that. But we need to act. We need to act strongly. The message that is being sent by this administration in this world is that we are a weak country, that we will not back our allies, that we are not resolute in our determination to spread democracy and free markets throughout the world. And that message has got to change from this administration, and it will change when this senator is on the floor of the United States Senate.
Perhaps you've seen my ad. It's called Forgotten. I had a conversation with Sandra Dahl. Sandra is the widow of Jason Dahl, the pilot on United Flight 93 that went down in Pennsylvania. She said, "Jane, thank you. Thank you for reminding the citizens of Colorado that we will not forget 9/11, that we are in a war on terror, and we need to call it that." We had a conversation about Israel and the importance of standing tall with not only Israel, but with our other allies in the area. We do not have a strong foreign policy. The administration does not have a strong foreign policy. Rolling Stone is not the format that you want to be discussing these things at. I do believe General McChrystal served our nation well, but I do think he made a mistake in terms of how he said what he said. But I think it opened the door to an important issue, and that is we've become timid. Charles Krauthammer calls us a nation in retreat. And I believe that America is the greatest force for good on the planet. We should not be appeasing. We should not be apologizing. We should take our rightful position among nations. And ladies and gentlemen, that's why I believe that it is so irresponsible to say that we will get out of Afghanistan before doing the total job. We need a strong foreign policy. I have 7 points on my website. I would encourage you to go there. It's a very solid piece of foreign policy strategy, and I'd like to discuss it with you. Thank you.
There's one more point that I wanted to make about America's foreign policy. We should not go to the United Nations and seek their approval when our best has consistently undermined our interests. We may not have had to fight the Second Iraq War if the United Nations had held steady on the embargo that should have been in place there. They have consistently undermined our foreign policy in a number of areas, and the Security Council now is undermining our foreign policy when it comes to Iran, and we can't let that happen. We don't want to act unilaterally if we don't have to. We want to develop a consensus among nations in the world, but if we have to act unilaterally, or if we have to act with an ally like Israel, we should do it.
Gene.
I'd like to go back to Afghanistan and the reality of doubling down. Our president doesn't use the word victory in describing the conflict, and he'll be a commander-in-chief for another 2.5 years. We've had troops in the field for almost 10 years. Specifically, what does victory look like, and how long are you willing to stay to achieve it?
The surge worked in Iraq. It can work in Afghanistan if we have enough troops on the ground. We should make sure that it's a military decision, not a political decision, and the withdrawal should not be based on some political calendar. What does success look like in Afghanistan? And it goes back to our mission. And the mission is we need to disrupt, dismantle, and defeat the Taliban. Yes. And that's what our mission is. It will not look like nation building. It will be counterinsurgency. And that's what our mission is, and that will be what victory is. And we should not be committed to a timetable. We should be committed to victory. And that's what we need to do.
I've answered part of this question. I think what we need to do is we need to make sure we don't have a safe haven for terrorists. I think we need to disrupt and dismantle the drug trade, and I think we need to promote regional stability in Central Asia. The reality is, in Afghanistan right now, we have a corrupt leader, and that corrupt leader is not taking us down the road to victory. And I don't know if there's a leadership change in the future. It was clear to the Afghan people that he did not win a free and fair election. And we cannot stand behind a corrupt leader and hope to achieve a victory by winning the hearts and minds of the people of Afghanistan. We have got to make sure that the army in Afghanistan and the police force in Afghanistan are able to take over as we leave that country. But most importantly, we have to have an exit strategy. And I am, as Jane said, and as I said before, I am committed to making sure that we do not send a signal to our opponents that we are going to withdraw on this date. All they do is hide and then come out of the woodwork on that date. We're not going to do that. We are going to stay there, and we're going to achieve the 3 goals that I set forth. But we are not going to stay there to achieve some sort of Western-style democracy, and we cannot prop up an unpopular dictator. And so we've got to solve a number of very delicate issues in Afghanistan in order to be successful.